Hello, you are listening to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. Your host, Erica Sacosio, invites you to join her community of passionate and inspiring leaders in the ECE field, where she discusses, reflects, and shares the best ways to invest in our children, families, teachers, and community. Because after all, we know they are the heartbeat of any successful program.
Hey guys, it is your girl here, Erica Sacosio, with the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. And today we're going to talk about the many faces of leadership and early childhood education. But before we do that, I wanted to take a minute and just tell you how grateful and humbled I am over the last month. I have had the opportunity to be on several podcasts, and I have got to meet some of the most amazing podcasters. And just share, best practice and what really just keeps us motivated and going. And, one common thing that definitely came across was all of us were leaders in our industry. And I thought that that was very telling. And most of us were using our platforms, not honestly, and not that there's anything wrong with this, but not honestly to propel our careers or to, market particular items and services or those types of things to anyone specific, but really we're just trying to share the message about all the work that all of us, including you, are doing. We know some of us are a little more shy or may not, know how to make an impact about, spreading the word that early childhood education is important. And that's okay because we all have different leadership styles. And I don't really want to talk about advocacy so much today, but I did talk about it this morning on Jamie's show, the Forgotten ECE, which is a school-age podcast. But so advocacy has been a lot on my mind today, as it often is. But I really just wanted to kind of talk about leadership, and it just made a correlation for me. And so many of you that tune into this podcast on a regular basis, are leaders, and I'm fully aware of that. But have you really thought about what type of leader are you? And there's several different kinds of leadership. And I really feel like this might be an area that I'm going to explore more. I'm very clear on what type of leader I am and what it means to me. But I am really interested to also know what you all think is a leader. So I think I would like to maybe do a few lives where we could talk about it together, because as much as I love talking and recreating the podcast, I really am dying to engage with all of you in a meaningful way. So maybe doing a live seems like a good idea. So if you think it's a good idea, let me know. Text us in the notes, the show notes. There's a little box that says text the show. That's what I mean to say. Text the show, but text the show. Because I really am jazzed about talking with all of you. This podcast isn't about me. It's about you. And it's about whatever I can do to help you, support you. And it might be just to hear you cry. It might be just to hear you rant. It might be to hear your great idea or your best strategy that you want to share with the rest of us. But that's what we're here for. That's what this platform is here for. I want to give to you, and I want to give you a place where you can share your voice, where we can give to others. So if that sounds interesting to you, let me know. Text me in the notes. Hit me up on Facebook, on Instagram, and we can connect there. I hope that is something that resonates. So when I think about leadership, I think about a few things. I definitely am more of a servant leader, and there are people in my organization that are not that style. And I know that there's, again, as I said, many different styles of leadership. But for me, I like the servant leadership. Now, of course, I can have a blended style depending on the task at hand or what I am going through at the moment. But my wheelhouse definitely is servant leadership. And for me, leadership isn't just about taking charge. It's about inspiring my team, inspiring my students or my families, And it's something that I do with anybody that I come across. And for those who know me personally, they can really attest to this. You could be anything. You could be an artist. You can be a writer. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be in the ECE field. If I know you and I meet you and you tell me your dreams, I'm going to push you to move towards those dreams. I think that it's so important, but I'm inspired by hearing stories and learning more about people. And I think when you do that, you really have this connection with people and you can then inspire them because you know them. You're connected with them. So that's one of the reasons I typically will talk about being an on-site owner, only because when I say I know my people, I mean, I really do know my people. But it's not just the people within my four walls. I want to know the folks in my community. I want to know you. I want to know the folks in the ECE community, not just in the US, but in Canada and in any other country that wants to talk with me. I would love that. But I think leadership is really inspiring people, guiding people, and supporting others. And when I say guiding, I mean, if you know how to do something, you can show them, but then let them do it. Give them the opportunity to try and fail. And supporting others. Supporting others sometimes means that we're not supporting ourselves. And what I mean by that is, maybe you have somebody who you really love, who's really great, and they're ready to leave your program. But that might not be the best thing for your program, but it certainly could be the best thing for them. And so you have to be a good leader and let them go graciously, support them, and let them move on. And they can then achieve their common goals and their visions. And I think, when I think about how opening up a childcare center was my dream, that might not have been the dream of my teacher. Sometimes you'll have folks that are in the care field. Maybe they're in school to become a CNA and they work for you right now. So that's why when you're interviewing folks, you may have a college student who is going to work for you for 4 or 5 years, but their end goal is to be a teacher in a public school or to work with special needs children in an ABA program. Whatever the goal is, they may not see themselves with you forever. And if they do, sometimes that's not a great sign of a good leader either, because if you're growing your people and inspiring them to be their best, there's a good chance they're going to grow out of your program. And that's okay. And you have to understand that that's okay. And once that happens, you should be proud of that because you had a part in that. And for me, leadership in early childhood education means creating a nurturing environment for both the children and the staff where everybody can thrive. It's about setting a positive example and certainly being approachable, because I know there are a lot of leaders out there that are not. They're non-approachable. And so what does that look like? Maybe it looks like certain hours of the day, your door is wide open. And maybe your team knows if they're having a breakdown or a parent, they know that if that door is closed, of course with boundaries, but if that door is closed, they know they can knock on it and you're going to open it and you're going to welcome them. And I know some people are going to say, no, set your boundaries. Yes, of course, set your boundaries. But I promise you, there's nothing that I'm working on the other side of the desk that's more important than a person who needs to talk. And when you do that, when you give to people like that, they give back to you and they certainly try to give back to you as much as they can. And setting a positive example. When somebody comes and asks you for something, how do you respond? Are you positive? Do you say, don't bother me with that right now? Or do you say, I would love to talk with you about that? Can we schedule some time towards the end of the day? I'll put 20 minutes aside just for you. So you have to be that positive role model. And for those of you who think you know all the answers, you don't, because I certainly don't. Get in the rooms with your teachers and see what it is that they need help with. And don't just give them like a recommendation and say, oh, here's this article I found. Show them. If you can do it better, show them. Lead by example. If you hear a teacher is stressed out, they're not able to make it through the day, what are you doing about that? Or the opposite. Maybe you hear something really great going on in a classroom. You better trip getting out of that room or running to catch that, right? And sometimes it's the teacher, sometimes it's the child, but really making sure that you're making a positive impact in your program and setting that positive example when you're walking in the morning. A smile, put down your stuff, go say hello to everybody, check in. So for me, that's kind of where my leadership falls. Also having a clear vision for the future. And again, I know that that's really hard right now because the future isn't very clear. So you have to determine where you're going to move your program. How are you going to do this? And maybe it's you're going to go all in infant toddlers. Maybe you're going to go all in with before and after school program. Maybe you're going to be a super boutique preschool. Maybe you're going to collaborate with the school department and have some of your classrooms become a state-funded pre-K. You have a lot of choices. There's lots of choices. There are other ways that you can bring in revenue to your program as well. You can offer family nights. You can offer additional services, tutoring services, lots of different additions to your program. But as the leader, you have to have that vision of where you're going to move your company to. And you may not have that vision. And if you don't, you have to recognize that and figure out who can help clarify that vision for you. Who can help possibly help you figure out what your future looks like. So maybe you work with a coach. Maybe you reach out to your state agency that has professional development for administrators, and maybe they can help you there. Maybe you put together a strategic planning meeting with your team. There are a lot of different ways that you can solve that problem because, again, leadership is all about solving problems. Also, I think fostering growth, not just for the children in our care, but our whole team. And when you are that type of leader, it is very possible. So inspiring and motivating others, encourage that growth, help your team members reach their full potential by recognizing their strengths and supporting their development, and demonstrate your leading with your behaviors, with your attitude, with your work ethic that you wish to see in others. If you, and I don't mean to make people upset here, but I only know how to speak one way, and that's with truth and honesty and what I truly believe. But if you believe that you are going to have the work ethic that you're not going to come in to your program at all, and everybody is going to run that business like they own it, it is not going to happen. Now, I'm not saying you have to be there from sun up to sundown. Certainly, you have to prioritize and do things that make sense for your business. And I right now, I'm feeling that right now. So I'm going to give you an example. So right now, I have 3 quality rating applications due. I have 3 licensing renewal applications that will be due in the next 30 days. Same thing with my renewal for my quality rating next 30 days. And we have a new program or a new work registry in our state, which many states have had this for a long time, but a new registry that has a deadline that all of our employees have to have all of their things scanned and set up and, done correctly. And when you have a large team, that's a good amount of work that you have to get in there. And then like everyone else, just doing your own compliance and audits and then the day-to-day. So I get it. So you have to have good work ethic, but you also have to make sure that you are, that you're not burning yourself out, but also that you're there with your team. So it's somewhere there. And I don't want us to use the word balance because I don't know that that's a real thing. I think it's a word in the dictionary. I don't know if it really applies to real life. because sometimes it's all work and some relaxation. And other times it's, I really need to unplug for 5 days because I've really accomplished a lot of things and I need a little break to recharge. So again, everybody's going to do that a little differently. The important thing is that you recognize it when you're leading by example. Don't have a bad attitude. If you have a bad attitude, your staff are going to have a bad attitude because people are going to copy what they see. If you come in a uniform, your staff are going to wear a uniform. Now, I know some people are rolling eyes. When I say uniform, I don't necessarily mean a uniform as the owner or director. Of course, you may have certain business attire that is appropriate for you to wear at work, especially if that's something that's important to you. But you can't expect everybody to dress, full uniform and then you're walking in yoga pants and a sweatshirt. Like, it doesn't make sense. So you have to make sure that you're following and doing what you want your staff to do. The other thing I think about being a leader is you really have to create a positive and supportive environment. How do we do this? Well, fostering collaboration is certainly one way, because you really want to make sure that you're building a culture where teamwork and mutual respect are prioritized. So think about that for a minute. Don't you make yourself a list of the last time that you collaborated with your team, maybe what was the project and what were the results? And was it fruitful? And if it wasn't, go back and look and say, what did I miss? Because I believe that when you foster collaboration in your program, you're going to get so much more buy-in. And the other thing is that not everybody has the same skill set. So you want to make sure that we are providing emotional support by being empathetic and approachable and offering support during challenging times. And our challenging times, luckily, don't all happen at the same time in most cases. So that's good. So you may be having a challenge this week and maybe your assistant director has their turn next week. But for the most part, most times, unless something happened in your center that impacted everybody, like, I don't know, like a death in the family or something like that, that may have impacted your entire team. Other than that, most of the time, you're not going to have everybody having a challenging time at the same time. So, which is good, because then we can feed off each other's energy and support. Now, one of the areas that can sometimes be hard, especially if you're a big picture person, is setting a clear vision. Being able to articulate goals and defining and communicating a clear vision for your team or organization. And this is the little part that sometimes, I want to say I struggle with, but because I'm such a big picture person, I can see forward. I'm very forward thinking. But sometimes when you're so forward thinking, you can't see the present. So be mindful of that. Be aware of where you are now and then where you want to go. And it's just like driving a car. Like, you may want to go to Florida and you may have the roadmap, but you still have to drive through the other states to get there. So, setting that clear vision to the best of your ability so that everybody is moving in the same direction. Now, sometimes those goals change. And I could tell you even here, not even just in my childcare center, but even here on the podcast, I'm just a year in, and I really believe in my heart that we, as our community, can really bring this podcast to a national level. And for that to happen, I've got to have real clear vision of what the steps are, how I'm going to get there, and how am I going to bring the most value to all of the listeners. And there's so many of you that tune in every day. And sometimes there's days that I get a little down and like, is it enough? Am I giving enough? Am I doing enough? And then I get inboxes, which I got several in the last week and a half. And, it's just like that. It's just that one little thing, that how you can impact somebody's day, somebody's life. You could be having a down day or second guessing yourself, and then up pops an inbox that said, hey, I just want to let you know, I really see what you're doing here. And thank you for, being a voice for us, or thank you for having that guest on. They really helped me with this particular problem. And so, I want to again thank all of you, because, they talk about consistency, and we've been recording literally every day over a year. And some days I'll record 5 or 6 sessions. And other days I may say, oh, I don't have it in me. I'm going to do one. Right? So anyway, getting back to being a leader, setting those clear visions for your team and empowering others. And so when we empower others, sometimes that gets scary for folks because they may be the one that has all the knowledge, or the gatekeepers, if you will. And they get really scared to share meaningful work because we never have problems giving away the tasks that we don't want or the tasks that we feel are below our pay grade. And we never, well, I don't want to say we never, but it's really important to give meaningful work when we're delegating. You have to trust your team members with important tasks and responsibilities. This will help build their confidence and their skills. I have to tell you, I'm the only one who's ever really completed our licensing other than Miss Linda, who hasn't worked for me in, oh my gosh, almost 17 or 18 years due to medical conditions. So she used to help me with the licensing, but like the entire licensing packet. Now, yes, there were people that might have set up the fire inspection or the lead inspection or, different inspections. But I mean, like actually doing the application, gathering all the documents, getting it to the state on time. Primarily, I've been the one who does that. The same could be said with Bright Stars. It would be primarily me who would collect documents. I may ask my directors, hey, can you get me, these 5 things? I need these 5 things. Can you photocopy it, put it in, binder section A? For the most part, it had been me. And so this year, it's really one of the things that I'm hoping to let go. As I said, I have multiple applications that are all due at the same time, and they are very high stakes, for sure. So you can't just let it go and then have them put everything in an envelope and cross your fingers that, it's okay. But I'm going to give them that responsibility to put the packet together, make sure all the documents are there and everything is, included in the envelope. I'm going to sign off on it and go through and make sure everything is there. And if there's something missing, point it out and say, okay, we need this copy of this, and then, bring it back to me. So there'll be accountability there, but I'm really hoping that I can encourage some autonomy and allow the team members to make decisions and take ownership of their own work. And building strong relationships, open communication. I think if I talk about that one more time on this podcast, you're gonna throw your headset. But it's so important, maintaining transparent and honest communication with your team members. When was the last time you had a one-on-one? I have to be honest, I need to get to them really soon. Some of the administrative tasks that I have on my desk are not high stakes to me. They're high stakes in the world of running a business, but they're not high stakes to me. I'd rather be setting up classrooms with my teachers and talking about curriculum, especially at the beginning of the school year, and teaching, leading by example, not necessarily me teaching in the classrooms, but, observing and giving feedback and helping my staff be the best teachers they can be. Those are the areas I really love to spend my time. I love to spend my time training my team and helping them grow. Those are my favorite places to do that. So open communication about that is important. I'm very open about that and always looking for a leader to step up. And it doesn't always have to be, again, I'm not talking about titles. Could be anybody stepping up and say, hey, I want to learn more how to do that. And when you do that, it helps build trust for sure. Developing strong, trusting relationships through consistency, integrity, and respect. And I'm going to say it again, because some of you really struggle with, why don't they listen to me? Why do they not care what I have to say? Why don't they respect me? And you really have to do that by developing a strong, trusting relationship. They need to see that consistency. You can't be one day rainbows and then the next day the Mad Hatter. You have to have integrity. You have to do what you say, mean what you say, and, not only with your words, but with your actions. And of course, give people respect. If somebody shares something with you confidentially, that should stay confidential. Also, when you're talking to a team member or a child or a parent on the floor or in the office, you need to be respectful. You're not always going to agree. I certainly have not always agreed with every teacher, parent, or child, or family member, or human being, right? We have differences of opinion, and that's okay. We can respectfully disagree, but the word in there is respect. And being a great leader, I think you have to be able to adapt to changes. You have to be flexible. You have to be open to new ideas and approaches and continuous learning. Committed to personal and professional growth by seeking feedback and staying up to date with industry trends. And gosh knows there's a lot of industry trends right now. So whether you work with a big team or a small team, really ask yourself, when was the last time you let your staff give you a review? Yep, give you a review on how you are doing as their boss, as their director. Now, that might be scary for some. You could do something simple as have a email where it can be sent in without the person's name. So every email that comes in would be coming in from that same email, like secretshopper.com at gmail.com, right? Just, in all seriousness, I'm laughing, but in all seriousness, I think that's something we don't really do enough. We may be reflective on how we feel that we are doing as a leader. We may be reflective on what we think our strengths are and what we think our weaknesses are, but do we ask others? And don't be afraid. I really love getting feedback, honestly. Don't be afraid of the feedback. I think it's a great way to grow. And when you have a good understanding of what it is and why we are doing what we're doing here in our programs, it allows you as a leader to make ethical and thoughtful decisions and be considerate with your judgment. When you make decisions that are fair, ethical, and in the best interest of your team and your children, you will go very far in this business. You have to balance the different interests and weigh various perspectives and needs to make well-informed choices and decisions. Very often when I call my managers in the morning and I say, all right, give me the news, it's usually what are the counts? How many kids? How many teachers? Now we have ProCare. I can log in and I can see what the computer says my numbers are. But I like to touch base because I feel like there's that human factor that helps me. And I can also see, okay, this teacher is running late. They should be here by now. I don't see them clocked in. Let me just touch base and see, did they call out? Did something happen? Are they okay? I mean, how about that? Are they okay? Because they always assume the worst. They quit. They're not showing up. Or they called out. Are they okay? Did they get a flat tire on the way to work? Right? Imagine being that boss who calls the employee who's stuck on the side of the road with a flat tire. You say, hey, how close are you? Do you need a ride? Do you need me to call AAA? What can I do for you? Instead of, well, I'm so sorry you got a flat tire, but what time will you be here? Now, I understand we all have ratios. I do. But is that really thoughtful? Is that a thoughtful decision? Or maybe that conversation could go more like, I'm sorry that you got a flat tire. I hope you're okay. Be safe. Move out of the way. Do you have help coming? Do you need me to make a phone call? And then say, I'm going to get with the rest of the team to see what we can do for coverage so you can safely take care of what you need to take care of. And I can tell you right now, just from talking to teachers, that is not always the response that they get. Now, you can't predict when you're going to get a flat tire, so you can't phone home in early, if you know what I mean. Also, when you're a leader, I think leading with passion and purpose, demonstrating commitment, showing your dedication and enthusiasm for the mission and goals of your organization. I'm going to say that again. Showing dedication and enthusiasm for the mission and goals of your organization. So if you're not working on the mission and the goals of your program, what are you working on? And if you're the one who's leading the charge, you have to have enthusiasm, which is why I'm always so excited. And when you talk with me, as soon as you start talking about early childhood education or ECHRs or putting classrooms together or anything that I really love to do, you're going to hear enthusiasm. When you might not hear is you might not hear it when it's time to go do bank recs. Those you don't hear enthusiasm because to me that's mundane. I know there are some of you who love that, love reading the reports, looking at the data, what's the FT, and I'm not saying those things are not important. They're absolutely important. I'm just saying That's not my passion and not my purpose. But I bet you the person that runs your finance department, that is their passion. That is their purpose. I'm just saying it's not mine. But think about it for a minute. Why are you in the field? What was your purpose? Was your purpose to have the best brand? Was it to service the most children in your community? Was it to have the most regarded school? Whatever it is, re-look at that. Are you on track? Because it's easy to get distracted nowadays with all the new debris coming at us, if you will. But it's easy to get distracted. So go back to that. I don't want to sound, cliche with the what's your why, but, what's your why? You have to be resilient and persistent, overcoming challenges, facing challenges with a positive attitude and a solution. It takes perseverance. And then learn from your failures. Gosh, I've made plenty of mistakes yesterday. Probably will make a mistake today. And I'm definitely sure I'll make a mistake tomorrow. But using those setbacks as an opportunity for growth and improvement really is the definition of leadership. Understanding that we're going to always continue to grow. We're always going to have great successes and great failures. And so the way that you frame that in your mind, sometimes your greatest failures become your greatest successes, as silly as that sounds. So as we start to get to the end of today's episode, I'd like to maybe just wrap it up with, I encourage you to be innovative, to be creative, and support new ideas. And all the good ideas don't need to come from you. Create an engaging environment where creativity is encouraged and new ideas are welcome. Ask your team, ask your parents, the big ones and the little ones. Sometimes it's the daily wins. Sometimes it's just those little things, as I always say. But make sure that you're recognizing and celebrating those contributions and achievements that you have every day in your program. So I hope that this episode resonated with you. I feel like I really want to talk more about leadership, and I want to talk about it with you. I don't want to talk to myself about it. I want to talk with all of you. So I will post up our live date. Hopefully you guys will be there. Again, text me in the show notes there. Right at the top where the description is a text to show feature. And, let me know if you want to come drop some questions in there, topics that you want us to cover in a live. That would be great. And I'm looking forward to it and seeing how far we all can move this platform. So I hope that you're inspired. You inspire me every day. Thank you for all your comments, all your love, all your just tuning in. Just tuning in is enough. So that's it for today. As always, it's the little details that make a big impact on the success of your childcare business, but not just your childcare business, on the impact that you have on others in your community, particularly me and everyone else that gets to be in your presence. So that's it for today. And as always, have a great day.
Well, all the cute little kiddos have been picked up and it's time to go home. And that'll do it for another episode of the Childcare Director's Chair. Please leave a review so Erica knows the information is helping you to manage and improve your childcare centers. Remember to subscribe to get the latest episode from Erica's Childcare Director's Chair.